Hello and welcome back to Sportified, the greatest podcast on the planet. Today I will be reviewing Misfits 18, which happened on Saturday the 14th. It was quite a huge event, I think it was the best event in influencer boxing so far this year, and really happy that it went so well because I felt that influencer boxing was dying a little bit, but 17 was a good booster to the morale in the influencer boxing scene, and finally Misfits 18 was a banger event. So can't wait to go more in depth into it, and let's get straight into it with the start of the kickoffs, which was Big Toes vs Kels. So I honestly thought Big Toes was going to win this because he has had fights before, if I'm not wrong, with Ashley Raksu, but Kels dominated him in the later rounds. He originally was knocked down by Big Toes, but I think Kels did well, and he's coached by Daily Perales, which is a huge boost. I think he's an exceptional coach. So I didn't know that before seeing the warm ups and seeing Kels being coached by Daily Perales, so that was good. And as soon as I saw Daily Perales, I kind of knew that Kels would win, but was very pleasantly surprised that he won in the fashion he did. Huge right hand, and Big Toes was very confused, looked super lost, and he was a good decision to wave off the fight right there and then. Kel should go on to fight Mist, I think, because Mist was another person who beat a kind of experienced guy in Ryan Taylor with a huge jab. And I think it'll be interesting to see two huge guys with a lot of power go and slug it out in the ring. So we move on to the next fight in the kickoffs. Not really sure why this was in the kickoffs, but it was the semi-final of the State Pro tournament, which was featuring Idris Virgo against Fes Batista. So unfortunately, there's a huge mismatch. I always said that I don't know why Fes Batista was fighting in this, and it showed. He was knocked down 4 times, and finally Idris Virgo lived up to his nickname, the Body Breaker, and just dominated him throughout the singular round of this fight. It was currently waved off for TKO, and Idris Virgo went on to win the whole thing, which we will discuss later on. Then we had the second semi-final, which was a huge shock for me. Benson Henderson vs Chris Avila, and he won via unanimous decision. He, as in Benson Henderson. I kind of thought that Chris Avila would dominate Benson Henderson. I do know he was a UFC legend, but Chris Avila is an actual professional boxer, and I'm not really sure why he had so much inactivity, especially in this scene. Even though this is a pro fight, activity is a huge part in the judging, and he lacked a lot of activity. He had the Nate Diaz style, the nonchalant style, but I think he was too nonchalant on this occasion, and Benson Henderson rightfully won. He pressured Chris Avila for 5 rounds, and he went on to the final. Next up, we have Nikki Hu and Carla Jade. So this was for the lightweight world title in the women's division, and Carla Jade dominated. Not much to say because there was not much technique going on. It was just straight shots from Carla Jade to dominate Nikki Hu. The power was too much, the height was too much for Nikki Hu, and she looked like she was straight out of a horror movie. And she didn't look too upset with the loss, so I think she'll be back. And Carla Jade should continue to defend the title, stay active, and I guess it was a decent fight in terms of influencer boxing. Next up, we have a huge fight, which I was quite surprised with the decision. It was Ashley Raksu vs Tristan Ham. I personally prefer Ashley Raksu as a boxer out of the two, but I thought Tristan Ham did quite well in this fight, and he merited going to the fifth and final round, the eliminator round, which is something done in overtime boxing as well. So this was a 4-round fight, and I thought you would go to the fifth round, which they agreed upon because it was quite close. Ashley Raksu was fighting on the back foot, and he was having success doing it. But Tristan Ham was having a lot of pressure, a lot of activity, caught Raksu with some big shots. I thought that would be something the judges would value. I thought at worst it would be a 2-2 draw, and they move on to the final round for Tristan Ham. But surprisingly, he lost in a majority decision as well. I thought it would be a split decision at the very least to Ashley Raksu. And I wouldn't say it's an unmerited win to Ashley Raksu, but I was quite surprised seeing it happen. Not much else to say. It was a quite high level fight, These two have had lots of improvements in this first started fighting. But Tristan Ham has had 2 losses in the bounce now. He needs to recover, recuperate, find someone maybe on a lesser level, beat them, then move on to the bigger fighters once again. Ashley Aksu said he wanted to fight against Anthony Taylor. Why not? Anthony Taylor has been knocking out people left, right, and center, and Ashley Aksu has won against quite a tough opponent. I think you could run back the rematch. I think that would be an interesting fight to see. But yeah, overall verdict for this fight, a bit of a confusing decision, but I'm not too unhappy with it. Then we go on to one of the most exciting fights in this card, which was Lewis Bowden versus George Stokey. Lewis Bowden is a local hero now because he won via unanimous decision in his hometown. And, it was not a really high level boxing fight, but it's like the old days of influencer boxing where the both of them just slugged it out, cardio for days. And they did quite well for first time boxers. I think George Stokey, got a bit hard done by with minimal boxing training. Obviously, Bowden looks like he has done this for much, much longer. And yeah, he has better IQ, he had better power, and dominated George Stokey. Not much more to say in that. Then we have another fight, which was a bit confusing for me. Not in terms of the decision. I 100% agree with the decision, but I do think that Joey Knight could have done much better against Leo Cray. This Leo Cray vs Joey Knight fight was for the to determine who will be in the final for the interim lightweight tournament, and unfortunately, my guy Joey Knight lost. So I'm a huge fan of him. I do like his boxing a lot. I think he's quite slick, a good boxer, and unfortunately, he lost. I think the first three rounds were clear Leo Cray rounds. He kind of dominated. It was quite close because both of them were playing the boxing game rather than the influencer boxing game. They were fighting like pros, Leo Cray was using the hit and not be hit style, which is quite boring, I guess, for now influencer boxing fans or the casual boxing fans. But for me, it was quite interesting to see, such high level boxing in influencer boxing card. And I think, yeah, Leo Cray deserved the win, despite however he won. And a bit disappointed Joey Knight didn't do more. If he had done more in the first round or even the third round, I think it would have been a quite clear win for him as he dominated in the last two rounds. But it was too little, too late, and Joey Knight unfortunately lost. And before you move on, I just want to talk about the True Geordie commentary. My God, it was terrible. Hearing it was like just brain rot to my ears. The glazing is crazy. Some crazy Diddy behavior from True Geordie over there. He's been given a second chance to commentate on Misfits, and I think he truly blew it. It was very, very, very biased commentary, not professional at all. I understand this is the influencer boxing scene, but there is some professionalism required, there's a reason why he's not commenting on the pay-per-view cards, and I hope so they keep it that way. The next time I hear a fight with his commentary, I'm switching it off, man. I don't need to hear that glazing. So then we move on to the final three fights. Three huge fights, all for titles. And yeah, let's go get into it. So Judy Polka dominated Crystal Pittman. I think Pittman was injured as well. I think she was wearing a knee brace. But yeah, as a pro boxer, I would expect you to work around it, and she didn't. He's a pro bare knuckle fighter, if I'm not wrong, and she didn't look like one. Judy Polka dominated her. She did have a moment, but this was clearly something to boost Julie Polka's CV, and she did it. So great win for her, and she moves on. And then we have Idris Virgo versus Benson Henderson. This fight wasn't uh, the most appealing, and it was quite controversial as a lot of people thought that Benson Henderson won. But I think Idris Virgo did enough to get the unanimous decision win. I don't think it should have been unanimous decision. Maybe majority decision, but I think he did enough. He is a traditional boxer, so probably that appealed to the judges. And apparently, the jury system that Misfits have confirmed that Idris Virgo won. So a good win for him. Benson Henderson, quite impressive. So I would like to see him again despite his age. I think he can fight 1, 2, 3 fights before he retires. And Idris Virgo, keeps on going, keeps on winning. And I'm interested to see who they put him against next. Hopefully, it's against a big pro like Tommy Fury or Amir Khan or something like that, so that he can truly test himself. Finally, we have Elbrook versus Jenny Savage. To be honest, the first three rounds was clearly Elbrook. Elbrook was dominating. Then Jenny Savage grew into her own, and she came back in the last two rounds. She was making good connections. She was having a lot of success in hitting Elbrook, but I think it was too little, too late again, like the Joey Knight situation. And I think, yeah, she should get another chance against Elbrook, but I think Elbrook is more concerned with Paige Van Zandt. Hopefully both rematches happen. Elbrook, once again, she did enough to get the win, but there are holes in her game which she can improve. But of course, this is what the influencer boxing scene is about. Prove your point and then move on and start improving to fight a bigger opponent. Before we conclude this half episode, let me talk about the Slim vs Gibb fight. So this was announced on the card, and let me say I was very pleasantly surprised that it finally went through. I kind of had an inkling it was him when Leon Willis, his trainer, was talking about Slim fighting an MMA opponent, and then he mentioned that Gibb was looking to get into medieval MMA. So that was the kind of that a little Easter egg given by Leon Willis, which I kind of picked up on. But I was like, surely there's no way Gibb finally agreed to work with Misfits, and he did. So that is something I'm quite happy with. This fight is the second most expected fight behind Jake Paul vs KSI. So it's a huge fight for the scene, and it's something that will undoubtedly even uh, exceed this card. So I'm looking forward to that card and that fight. It's going to be 8 round fight, so it's going to be a very high level 8 rounds of boxing, or it could be a knockout. And I will probably make a prediction closer to the fight, but I think if it's a decision, Gibb clinches it. If it's a knockout, Slim gets it. With that, we have come to the end of this episode, or rather half episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Do let me know what else you guys want me to cover. The second half of this episode will be on F1, so do look out for that as the Singapore GP is this weekend. And hope you guys enjoyed. Till then, goodbye.